Dear Lord God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather as your church body. We realize that doing the ministry of the church, the administrative part of the church, is just another part of our worship of you. For God, we want to do what is pleasing in your sight with the facility, with the resources that are entrusted to us. God, in the ministry opportunities that you open for us, may we be your witness throughout the entire community. We pray in your holy name. Amen. We don't have a long agenda today. One of the things that we will talk about is the presentation from NCR that we know happened last week. And we will talk about the finances, but then we'll talk about some of Dayton Cook's stuff, and we will go through it in that manner. The first thing I want to do is say thank you from the staff for the Christmas presents that you gave. This year, each staff member received a Christmas bonus of $232.15 from the Christmas offering. And that was 9 staff persons, and Reverend Wilson received $500. And so we want to thank you for your generous contributions toward the offering for the staff. And the reason why you see cents, because what we do, we pull it all into one pot, and then we divide it up. And usually my recommendation is that we divide it up equally. We do have a group that is responsible for pastor-parish relationship committee, and they said, well, no, pastor, you're going to get 500. And so, well, they told whoever handles that part of distribution of money, that's how much I would get. And so that's how we got to that total. We also gave money to Debbie Nerderman and to Chef Thomas, because even though we have Grace Urban Development and we have Grace United Methodist Church, I want us to kind of think about that as a partnership. Grace Urban Development is in its infancy, and so we're going to do a lot of stuff to help support it, to have it be successful. And we don't see the people who work for Grace Urban Development as just out on the island out there by themselves. We see all of that as an extension of Grace, because that's through Grace Urban Development, we'll do a lot of our outreach ministries and stuff that we're doing. Just like Louise Troy Elementary School, that ministry there, which is the church ministry, we know it operates under Grace Urban Development. That's where that fund comes into. But we know it's church volunteers and church people that participate in all of that. So we just have a separate 501c3 so that we can go after some grant dollars that we cannot go after as a church. But the separate 501c3 is still connected to Grace in many ways. And so I wanted you to know that and want to thank you for your generosity. I did hand out a financial report to you from last year, so you can see how we actually finished the year. And you can look over this, and as we've told you before in the past, anytime you have questions or specific questions about something, get in contact with the office, and we'll be able to go over that with you and the details of it. We will look up, at least if you look on the first page, if you look down at gross profit, and gross profit is just the money that we had come in, and we see that's over $700,000. That's $717,830.67. Now I want you to know that some of that came from our investment fund. A lot of that came from our investment fund. Because if you look at our investment account, we got $367,000 from the investment account. So actually, we want to be aware of that. So far this year, we have not pulled anything down from the investment account, and we're hoping that we continue on that trend throughout the rest of the year. Last year, there were some things that we had to take care of, and so that we had to pull those dollars. The other thing is that what we have to be aware of, like I mentioned, the 9 staff persons. If we're not getting enough money in to support the staff salary, then we wind up having to look for money from other places to cover other expenses. So I do want you to be aware of that. But all of that is listed here. If you have any specific questions, you can feel free to ask those questions. You can email me. You can tell me, let's go to lunch and sit down. And you can bring this sheet and we can go through the numbers if that is what you need. But I just wanted you to be aware of it and to see how we are operating and how things look right now on a financial footing. I'm going to tell you this quarter, so far, this quarter of this year, we have been getting more dollars in through our offering than we had in some parts of last year. Now with the NCR presentation, I know some of you were able to make it to the presentation during the week when we met with National Church, and we're excited about the possibilities of what will happen and what they're proposing to happen. In that meeting, they told us that it will be a two-phase project. The first phase of the project will actually be where the St. Andrew's Church is and where the old hospital is. That's first phase. That they will tear those properties down first, and they will build the 115 units on that property. So that's what we're seeing as the first phase. Now, then they will do the second phase. During the first phase, they will go ahead and purchase our property. They will purchase our property because they will utilize our property. In our discussions, and we'll go have even further discussions, I think somebody at that meeting asked how much. Now, we have discussed at this congregation, and we passed it out how much it was. I'm going to tell you, when members ask that in a meeting, it makes the city alarm as if as the church doesn't know. We brought all that before you and the numbers, and we were selling the property for $320,000. They're not interested in the buildings. They're going to tear the buildings down. And so what we're looking at, just the value of the land, because the buildings are going to be torn down. And some of the buildings we wanted down anyway, especially Clegg, and we couldn't afford to tear it down ourselves and couldn't afford to really fix it to the level it would have needed to be fixed for the daycare to continue to operate in that facility without costing us a lot of money each month. And so that's how much it is, $320,000. Now I want to talk about their phasing and how that first phase will happen, that they will probably use Clegg as office space while they're doing the first phase. They may use the gym area as setup. One of the discussions that we have had with them, because we know that we're going to have to eventually, in our phases, build bathrooms. In the first phase, we will still be able to use that hall and that corridor and use the bathrooms. What they will do, even though they will own it, we will sign a $0 lease where we'll be able to go into that building, that part of the building, to use the bathrooms and everything through that whole first phase. And that first phase is going to take a couple of years to even build out, to tear down and to build it out. So I'm very practical. So my next questions with them move to, okay, what if you finish the first phase and all that you hope doesn't happen? The building is up, the apartments are there, people don't come and rent them like you would like, because they're in this to make money. And so what if you don't go to the second phase? And what I'm asking to be put into our contract is that we will have the first rights of a refusal. If they don't go to the second phase and they want to sell that property, we don't want just anybody to get the property. That we will have first rights of refusal. And what I want to also include in that contract, not only do we get first rights of refusal, but after you have not torn down anything and the property hasn't been improved, that we could get it at the same amount that you purchased it from us, that it won't go up any. Because, when we get to that stage, if they don't move forward, the church can decide to do that, or the church may say, well, we don't care who you sell it to, because you own it. But my thing is that, well, I think we do care who you sell it to, and what the other part, the part of our property, what would happen with it if second phase does not go through. Now, of course, we go into every project believing that every phase of the project will be completed. Everything will happen perfectly. That's the way we wind up doing things. That's the way we dream things happening. But even in the midst of dreaming, we have to be practical. Well, what happens if it doesn't happen that way? And so those are some of the things that we will be talking to our attorney about and talking to them about. And so that's where that is. But I think that most of you do understand it will be the Clegg building, the gym. They do not want the fellowship hall property, but they want to tear it down because they are concerned when they're tearing all the rest of the stuff down, that if they damage that, then they wind up having to pay us for it. So it's cheaper for them to just tear it down and then to bring it back to just level ground. But it will be the land underneath the fellowship hall we will continue to own. And so I just wanted you to be clear about that. Are there any other questions about NCR? Yeah.
That's not on.
Try it now.
It's on.
Try it now.
Oh, I just don't speak into it properly. Just a question. You said that we'll have the hallway and the bathrooms during their first phase. Will we also have the kitchen and the gym and fellowship hall during that phase and the parking lot?
So, well, that is something that we can talk about and negotiate around, because he did say that we know that what they would probably want to do is fence in their construction area. And so, but he did talk about the possibility of the parking lot still being used. But in reality, I don't think we have enough cars on Sunday morning that we couldn't just use the back parking lot if we wanted to. But we will see. That is something that we still can discuss. But they will, at some point, they will close off Dartmouth, and there won't be a way to turn into that parking lot unless you come up on the back side of it. So yeah, because it will fit their entire construction zone in.
But do we still keep the kitchen and gym for a while?
That is what I'm saying that we have to ask them about. We probably can negotiate around that. Right now, I did not talk to them about those areas, because what I knew is that we needed a bathroom to use, whether we had a kitchen or not, because we know that with the kitchen, we still have an option of going back to Gem City if we wanted to. That is not closed. We just brought the kitchen back into the church because we needed to get control and a handle on the business that was happening with the kitchen. Yes?
My question is, when you come off the kitchen, that parking lot there, have we sold that also?
No, ma'am, that's ours.
That's ours.
Yeah.
So we would have this parking lot down and then the little raised parking lot right there by the kitchen.
You're talking
That
about
will
right
remain.
at the back of the kitchen,
Right.
not up high, not where
No.
you go. Yes.
No, not that part, but this part.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What they're buying is this. If you drew a line around the building, it includes Clegg, then it goes up by the gym, then it comes out this way to say Fellowship Hall, even though they don't want that property, they don't want the land. So yeah, and so then it comes down behind those buildings. It don't extend on out. So yeah, so we have a real estate agent that we're working with that will get all the paperwork done and things that we need to do with the parcels. And so yeah.
I know the other evening they talked about the changes that are going to be made coming in from this entrance and the handicap accessible. Can you say a little bit about that
Yes.
to us, Pastor? And also, are we going to have other handicap accessible changes made, like the elevator and, you know, any other things related to that?
We can pay for anything we want. They're not that concerned about what we do with this part of the building, but we will be meeting with the architects. I'm going to get with LD because they want to schedule an appointment to meet with me and somebody who actually knows the church to walk through how we wind up moving into the phase of shutting those buildings off from this building. What we're talking about doing is then building a new entrance, and the new entrance will be on the Harvard parking lot side, which is Amherst. Like we keep saying Harvard, Amherst side. Building a new entryway, and in that new entryway, building 2 bathrooms. And so where that entryway will be an area where we can use for gathering, because it has to be some space in it, and 2 bathrooms that are handicap accessible. And so that's where we're at right now. We haven't met with the architects. We will be meeting with them coming up very soon to start mapping out how they might look and how we may be able to do that. So.
Pastor, will we want all the cuts onto the road off of Harvard? So the parking lot, there's like 2 or 3 entrances off the street. Will we own both of those, all of those, or will they own some of them?
We will own everything on Amherst. The parking lot, as it goes to Amherst, we own all of that.
Okay.
And so, now what they may request is that we give them a right-of-way, easement, that they'll be able to come up on that side of the building. That may be, but right now we haven't discussed that. But I'm pretty sure as we move closer to contract, we will discuss it. That they will be built in the new facility, the new entrance that we're making. So you know where that new entrance will be, you know where the door is now? We just want to make that bigger and more impressive. So that door that you come into, so they'll be in that area right now where the courtyard is. And so, yeah, and we have to decide whether we wanted to, how far we wanted to start back. And do we want to take out the hallway that we currently have, where we have the art gallery, that we have to make those decisions, how far we want that space to go back and what we want it to include. So, yeah. So there is no other questions about NCR? So, okay.
Pastor, maybe you meant to say it, but the second phase will be about 65 apartments, as I understand it. Is that right?
Yes, the second phase, if they move to the second phase on the property that we currently own, that they're buying, will be 65 units. So, the other thing is that we've been looking at what we will do with Dayton Cooks. If we want to try to find another place for them to operate out of, will we go back to Gem City Market, or rather we will do something on the lower level with the patio area and building that out. Now, to build that out, there would be some things that we would have to change. I mean, because we would have to have a sprinkling system, all of that type of stuff. We're going to have conversation with architects, and then also with code enforcement to see whether it's even feasible for us to even look at going that direction and doing that type of work. So that's where we're at with that. When we did rent Gem City Market, they rented to us for $1,000 a month. And so I think that we may be able to go back into that space, or if not that space, then we would have to look for another space or see what we can do to create the kitchen space downstairs in the patio area. The other thing which we talked about with the leadership team is the garage space that we currently have that is filled with stuff. There's just a lot of stuff in it. We bought a brand new van that right now we're just parking out in the elements. We paid $64,000 for it. Through Dayton Cooks, we had a grant. We paid $64,000 for it. Then the food bank reimbursed us 30-some thousand of that $64,000. And so we have been very lucky. Nobody has broken into it yet. We're praying that they don't break into it. We actually park it down by the sister's house, hopefully that they pray over it and just keep a shield of protection around it. But the reality, it would be better to put it inside a space. And so we approached the leadership team and asked about clearing out the garage. In the garage, we have old pews and a lot of that kind of stuff. If we got rid of all that stuff in the garage, there's a possibility that we could then push the scouting trailer farther back and put it in sideways. And then we'll be able to put the new van into the garage. Yes? If you're in the Dartmouth parking lot, if you drive in on Dartmouth parking lot, if you look to your right, there's a building. That's the garage. So that's one of the things that we're in the midst of discussion about. The leadership team did say yes, that they thought it was a good idea to put the new van into the garage, and that we need to clear out the material, the stuff that's in there. So if anybody has any idea of what we do with the old pews, or they know anybody that's interested in buying or purchasing or picking up the old pews, just let us know and let's have a conversation around it. So yeah.
Many of those pews are the ones from the Bishop's Chapel, is that correct?
Yes. Uh-huh. The white pews that were in Bishop's Chapel. So yeah. Are there any other questions? Yes.
I'm just thinking, we talked about $320,000 for the property that we're selling. It sounded to me like with the new bathrooms and entrance, and kitchen potentially, and the elevator, that we're probably going to spend all that money.
If we throw the elevator in there, doing something about the elevator, that's spent. I mean, to do a simple elevator is over $100,000. And so if we're considering the elevator as a part of that, we would have to raise money. So the thing about it, but we'll have a couple of years to raise money and to build a capital campaign, and also to look for grants, because that's what we'll be doing with Dayton Cooks, trying to find grants that will help us redo a kitchen area if we do it here on site. Any other questions? Do want to tell you that we're preparing for a fiscal audit. I think we mentioned that one time to you before. We have never had a fiscal audit, or haven't had one in many years. What we've been having is a procedure audit. In a procedure audit, the auditor comes in just and look to see, did you follow your financial procedures? But it's not a financial audit. The main reason we need a fiscal audit is because one of the grants that we could have gotten for Dayton Cooks, we could not get it because we didn't have a fiscal audit to present to them. One of the things that we know, and some people say, well, now you have Grace Urban Development. Grace Urban Development isn't old enough. It's not old enough to get the big grants. So that's why I say Grace Urban Development and Grace Church, that we're walking side by side. We're the mama and Grace Urban Development is the baby. And so we're walking side by side. So there are some things where we're having to use the church as the agent, the fiscal agent, to actually handle the funds, because a nonprofit can get a grant and then have a fiscal agent. The fiscal agent is the one that has to pass all the regulations and the requirements that the funder is looking for. And the fiscal agent usually has a longer history of handling dollars, and especially when we were talking about larger dollars. And so the church will still serve as a fiscal agent to Grace Urban Development. Anything else? So we're working on a church directory, and we're going to turn that over to Jim. So if you hear a voice just coming from out, it's not God speaking to us. Jim is in the balcony, but he's going to do this presentation from the balcony.
This is a voice from above. Grace Church is now establishing an online directory of members and staff. This will replace the hard copy directories that Grace has assembled periodically every 5 or 10 years in the past. Let me ask, does everyone have a copy of this item right here? If you don't, make a noise. Okay, let me get back to the PowerPoint presentation here. You will be in charge of whatever content you want to appear about you and your family in the church directory. It's a do-it-yourself program. Aside from the initial entry of data, you'll be able to update your listing. You can change your name if you want to. You can show a change of address, a change of phone number, etc. At any time you want. You'll have access to your own directory information online. And of course, you can receive the assistance of the directory managers and the office staff as needed. You will, for example, be able to upload a photograph and change that as often as you wish. You can include, if you wish, details about members of your family. You can possibly see a little bit of how that can go if you'll take a look at the paper form that you have in your hands. That will be the initial mechanism whereby you provide information that will go initially into the church directory, after which you'll be able to gain access to your own listing and update it as you wish. The particulars will be well explained to you, I believe. And above all else, we think this will be flexible and easy. You'll also be able to access the directory, your listing, and of course, listings of others with a phone or a tablet, as well as a computer per se. The directory information will be well secured, so that is an issue that I believe should not cause concern for us. And let's see, while I'm yakking on here, let me invite interruptions, questions at any time. And Larry, I think, will be glad to bring a microphone if you have a question, and that would be most welcome. I should have said that 2 minutes ago. Sorry, I did not think of that. The directory information form that you have is the beginning of the process whereby your listing can get online. One major decision you will need to make is, in effect, do I want to participate? That is to say, do I want to be listed in a way that's visible to others in the church directory? That is the substance of the yellow text on screen, and it is also the substance of the line on the directory information form next to the first hand with a finger on it, where you choose whether you want your listing to be visible to others or not. In the latter case, nobody, not even you, will be able to see your own listing, the only exception being managers of the directory, and that's what this choice that you will be allowed to make is all about. Make initially and change your mind later if you wish. So, if you like, you can fill this out now and leave the form here at the church, or you can fill it out later and return it to the church at your convenience. For example, next time you're in a worship service, you're welcome to leave this form in an offering plate, but you can use any mechanism you want to get it back to the church office. U.S. mail, carrier pigeon, or your favorite mechanism. When you provide the information on the form to the church office, one of the key aspects of that will be an email address, and after that information is provided, your email address is provided to the church, you will then be able to gain electronic access to your directory listing, and in particular, create a password that will go along with your email address to access the directory and subsequently update it anytime you want. I think this is going to be a great improvement for our church, so that we will have another mechanism whereby we build community and follow the mandate of Jesus Christ, that he wants us to be one in his name, and in particular to be able to gain access to one another and talk to one another. That's all I have to say. Yes, there's a question right back here, Larry. Would you bring a mic to the back of the sanctuary, please, sir?
And I also have a question as well about membership. Yeah. But
you decide on the order, sir.
All right, so my question is this. I might have just picked it up in that last part. Like, I wouldn't want my information to be available to the public in general. But what you said at the end, I think I'm understanding you to say the only people who would have access to this would also have to be a member. They would have to be listed. They would have to have a password?
Yes. The only people, aside from directory administrators, who are a small handful of folks here at the church, the only people who will be able to gain access to the information in the directory will be people who sign up for the directory and on the form in front of you give their permission for their information, for your information to be visible to others. Outsiders will not be able to gain access to this information. More questions, please.
Jim, my question on that, it says member. We have a number of folks who are active participants who are not members, including some retired pastors and so forth.
I believe.
So that would be folks who would be approved by the directory managers?
Well.
So we don't have folks who are just leaping into
I believe the term members is to be interpreted broadly. I don't believe this particular point has been discussed, but I think it would be, if it were up to me, regular participants in Grace Church would be most welcome to be participants in the directory. But let me say again, I don't get to make that call unilaterally. Pastor Don and the leadership team should do that, not me.
But there is a safeguard against trolls who want, I get Facebook friend requests, for example, from people I don't even know. I mean, there's a safeguard against people infiltrating it to fish for information.
Thank you, Larry.
It's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I should add that the management team, the small number of individuals who will take responsibility of trying to see that this works smoothly, will have the ability to immediately oust an offending individual if an individual finds a way to be offensive. I don't quite know how that would happen, but that would be within the power of the management team of this directory. More questions, please. So thanks in advance for jumping in and filling out this form. We have a question from the, could we offer a photo shoot? Yes, one of the possibilities we have discussed but not yet implemented is offering a photographing service for individuals who don't want to take a selfie or dig out a family album or what have you. So we do expect for there to be an easy mechanism whereby people can get a photo taken to be used in the directory, a photo of an individual or of a family. Thank you, Frank. More questions, please. All right, so let me encourage you, please, to fill out this directory information form. In particular, I invite you to please circle visible to others on the line with the first finger, with the first hand pointing on it, and to fill out the rest of the information in the way that suits you best. In particular, you will see that you have many opportunities to choose whether a phone number is or is not visible, whether an email address is or is not visible, whether the phone will be the recipient of text messages or not, whether your email address will be the recipient of emails from the church or not, etc. So there's a lot for you to look at here, but ultimately there's an awful lot under your control, and we invite you to participate. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Great job. I know that Jim and Susan Bennett is a part of that team. Jim, who else is on that team? I know Jackie, you, and Susan. Okay.
Jackie Moore, Susan Bennett, and myself. And of course, you're part of everything, Pastor.
I know. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, I've been at other churches who have had this, and it comes in very handy, because even when I'm traveling or when I'm somewhere, if I need to call someone, usually I'm not taking the paper directory with me when I'm out of town. I could just go in and see, and their number is right there and their information if I need to get in contact with them. And so, but yeah, I know a couple of churches that have done it, and it served the congregation very well. So I just wanted to give you an update. Just one thing about Louise Troy Elementary School. We want to thank the volunteers that went out on the 20th to be a part of the celebration with the children. I think the adults had a great time doing that, and I know the kids are appreciative of it. The school is so excited about our partnership. One of the things that I think if we could move into the school, the principal would be happy. And so but we're able to do a lot of things with the kids, and I think I've already mentioned to you now we're able to send home bags on the weekends with kids. And right now we're just doing 85 kids. It's a possibility that can increase. This week we will open our food bank at the school. So we already have a contract with the food bank, and we're already in contact with families. The one family, the grandmother I told you that all her grandkids. She's excited about it. There's one family that we know that's excited about it, and she's like, just let me know when you're opening. And so we are looking forward to doing that. We're busy. We're busy in many different spaces, and we're just trying to improve in all that we do, all the different ministries that we're a part of and that we're being involved in. We just had an expungement clinic on Friday. And so we had people that came in who, if they had a record, they could get certain things expunged from their record to move forward with job searches. Because some of them, that's what's holding them back about getting particular jobs. They've already served their time. They're back in society. So some of those things need to come off. I mean, they don't take things off that's just horrible. Many of them is a misdemeanor. They may have done something. They may have shoplifted somewhere. They've already gone to jail. They already made restitution. But if that shoplifting flag comes up when an employer does a background check, then they may be refused for the job. So the next one that we will be doing is a clinic to help people get their license back. So a license restoration clinic. I also wanted to let you know on March 6th through 9th, it's during the week, I will be out of town. I'll be in Orlando. I'm not getting to go to Disney World, but I'm going to be in Orlando, Florida. Actually going there for a conference that we're looking at. I'm on a committee where we actually award grants to other churches and to churches who are doing innovative things out in the world. And so I'm a part of that team that we go out and we look at the best practices in other areas and at conferences and stuff, and we bring it back to this area. And I'm hoping that what I'm able to glean as a conference leader, that I'm able to bring that stuff back and also help us. We got a call on Friday from a person who lives in Florida. She lives in Florida. Her sister lives here in Dayton. And her sister used to go to a church that she just has no contact with anymore. She said, I see them passing by, but nobody stops to see me. Nobody does this. I don't get an upper room. And so she wanted to know, would we go and check on her sister? That she saw our information, she checked us out, she went online and she went to our webpage and she checked things out, and she wanted us to get in contact with her sister. I'm going to tell you, we did get in contact with her. I haven't gone to visit yet. I'm planning to go to visit today. But we went ahead and sent flowers and welcomed her to grace. Her sister is in her 70s and don't have a church family that's demonstrating their love and support for her. So I just mentioned that to say that we don't know how God is going to grow the kingdom. We don't know how God is going to help us expand God's kingdom, or who's watching us and seeing the things that we're doing, and that they are recommending us. She's in Florida. She's a United Methodist in Florida that's recommending our church, and she could have chosen any church. She could have chosen any United Methodist church in the city, but she called our church to ask, will we go and check on her 70-plus-year-old sister who actually has some disabling conditions, and will we be family to her? So I just want to mention that we're making the mark. We are. And I want to encourage each one of you to continue to pray for us and continue to look at opportunities and ways we can get in the midst of the community and love on people. Larry.
Grace opportunities. We just want to take 3 minutes here to celebrate and consider opportunities to extend God's grace in our community. Go Grace. Whenever Jim is ready. I did want to add it from our meeting with the community the other day. People are excited about this development that's coming up, and some even talked about a potential landing place for themselves. Oh, Grace.
We want to thank you for your participation. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to always give us a call, email us. We try to get back as quick as we can in responding to any of your requests. Go in peace, and may the peace of God go with you.